Hello, I'm going to be talking about failure to function adequately. This is the third part to the video. Let's get straight into it. Failure to function adequately is the inability to cope with your day-to-day life. So here are the examples of what people may show that someone is failing to function adequately. So when a person experiences severe personal stress, their behavior becomes irrational or dangerous to themselves or to others. This is why they may actually cause people to be pushed away from them. They have an unpredictable behavior. They don't respect people's personal space. So that's pretty much really it for the points you need to know. So if they tell you to define failure to function adequately, it's basically the inability to cope with your day-to-day life. It's usually a 2 mark. I don't know why my pen's this colour. Oh, it's a highlighter. 2 marks. So 1 mark could just be you giving one example, and another mark is actually just writing that down. So you have experienced severe personal stress, you have unpredictable behaviour, you don't respect people's personal space, so you may actually get too close to someone while talking. So it's this personal respect that you don't really follow. So a strength is that it represents a threshold to help. So it represents a threshold for help. So the textbook does say something similar to this, but the explanation didn't really make sense much to me. So I actually went and found my own explanation, which makes much more sense, and it's the same point now that I have realised. Example, people who are depressed may act in a certain way, for example, show low activity levels, just some sort of behaviour. And it actually may act this way as it results in people helping them, so offering help, which is rewarding, and it can result in a successful treatment. Behaviour is functional because it's in a way for them to get help, which is beneficial. So this means that treatment and services can be targeted for those who need it the most. In a way, it's just saying that, well, if you're failing to function adequately, I'm more likely to actually go up and ask you, is everything okay? And you may say, oh yeah, well, I'm depressed or something like that. And I can actually be like, hey, let's help each other. Let's do this, or we should definitely consider this. So it's the point of, in a way, how do I say it in a much more rational way? It's in a way you're like signals for help. Yeah, signals for help, really. And it allows you to actually be treated. So it's a benefit to this explanation. Limitation, so there's not really much, but there's this discrimination element to it. So how do we know who's judging that someone is, failure to functioning? So basically what I just said. Anyways, thought I had more points to say, but realised I said most of it. Anyways, there's a discrimination element to it, as it's easy to label non-standard lifestyles abnormal. So, discrimination element, because it's easy to label non-standard lifestyles as abnormal. Because people who don't have a job may be considered them to failure to function. They just live off the grid in a way. So this means people who make unusual choices are at risk of being labelled abnormal, and their freedom of choice may be restricted. So it's in a way saying that, well, if you're failing to function adequately, you're completely abnormal, even though it's just because you're living a non-standard lifestyle. You're not living a normal, you go to a job, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's key point to remember, discrimination element, easy to label non-standard lifestyle as abnormal. Give your example, and in a way it's just basically puts people at risk of being labelled abnormal, and this basically in a way limits their freedom of choice. But yeah, that's pretty much it for most of it. But it represents a threshold to threat. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing. It represents a threshold for help. It's basically, in a way, if you don't understand what this means, it's just signals for help, in a way. So it represents a threshold for help, and the limitation is that it has a discrimination element to it, as basically those who live a non-standard lifestyle may be classified as abnormal. they're labeled. Really, labels is the key word for this. I'm gonna be doing I'm gonna do deviation from ideal mental health next. Thank you. Bye.